All right, let's make a formal introduction for our listeners. Good afternoon, Derek. My name is Claudia. I'm calling you from Washington, D.C. From the studio in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Derek Shulman accepted our invitation to his show. Derek, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much, Claudio, and nice to meet you from Fairfax to New York City.
Thank you very much again. My pleasure. Let's go back to the beginning. Derek, were you born like in a musical family? And how old were you when you perhaps began taking piano lesson or guitar lesson? How the music came to you, to your life?
Well, a lot of people know that yes, we're a musical family. Yes, I came from a musical family. My father, in fact, was a professional jazz trumpeter, and music was always around the house. So it was something that both me and my brothers and my elder sister, of course, always were involved in. So, and we always had instruments around the house. My father was a superb, brilliant musician, and music was part of my growing up. It was either jazz, not popular, but jazz, classical, even popular. But my father was a jazz trumpeter, actually, and a band leader. So that was me growing up on the south coast of England. I was born, in fact, in Glasgow, Scotland, as was my elder brother Phil and my parents.
Yeah. And then were you in any band during the high school years when you were, I don't know, 14 to 17 or something?
Yeah, well, in fact, when I was at school, grammar school, I put together a group of my school friends. The Beatles just started, and I looked at the show, and I heard the song "Love Me Do," and I thought it was superb. It was a life changer, in fact. And I said, I want to do that too. You know, I don't want to be an engineer. I don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. I want to be a rock and roll star. And so I got some friends together, and little by little we practiced, and I dragged my younger brother Ray into the band, and then my elder brother at some point, and we called ourselves Simon Dupree and the Big Sound. And gradually we played in the area and all over England and all over Europe, and we became very popular, actually. And we had a couple of very big top 10 hits. But that was from the mid to late 60s until 1970.
Yeah. And why you guys didn't continue as a regular band? I mean, I know you have several hits, right, with Simon Dupree. Why you guys didn't continue that? Or?
Well, the truth be told, we were a very good live band, and we were kind of an R&B blues oriented band. The biggest hit we had was a kind of a psychedelic hit, which kind of was a kind of an anathema to what we did live. And we started to play venues where the audience would expect the hits and not just the band. And that became, even though the couple of hits were well known and top 10, et cetera, they became something of a millstone around our necks, because the audience just wanted to hear the hits and nothing else. And there was a lot of internal movement in England at that time, with different bands evolving into different things, and we didn't want to be stuck with just to be a band playing the hits. So we decided that even though we were, still quite popular and still making decent money, we didn't want to continue, because it kind of felt like this audience was expecting the hit songs and weren't interested in anything new, and stymied our growth musically and personally. So we broke up the band in 1969, 70, and decided to put a new band together, which had nothing to do with our past.
Yeah. And then when you, at the time, do you have any pressure from your parents to, hey, forget about music, you're not going to be making any money, go to school, go to the university, and or was okay to try it out?
No, you know what? We were lucky. I was lucky. Well, we were lucky, should I say? Because we came from a musical family, and my father was a professional musician,
Yeah.
and my mother was very supportive. So we never had that kind of, I guess, pressure of parents saying we should do something a little different because this is not a good life. No, they wanted us to be happy, even though when I became professional, if you like, we became professional musicians. We were all in. I had a place at university, in fact, but I never ever wanted to go. So I was lucky, in fact, that we had the hits and we were able to make a living being professional musicians. So no, we never had that pressure of expectations from our parents. No.
I got it, perfect. And then the three brothers end up forming the progressive rock band Gentle Giant, right? With
Correct.
Kerry and Kerry. And how
Yeah.
difficult was it at the beginning? At the beginning, well, you forgot the past from the previous band. You playing with with your brothers and two great musicians. And what was the motivation to putting together the progressive band called Gentle Giant? What was the motivation at the beginning?
Well, the motivation was the previous incarnation of what we did. There was no room for growth, and we were growing musically. We were growing professionally, and being stuck in the pop mold was completely wrong. And in fact, in that time, as I said, the Beatles changed everything. Sgt. Pepper changed everything, and groups like bands like King Crimson, Yes, etc. Even though they were in pop groups originally, we were all changing. The whole atmosphere in the late '60s were changing.
Yeah.
We were part of that, and so it was. And we had influences of different kinds of things. We just wanted to grow as personal musicians, better for each other, and be a band that could enjoy our own music together, which didn't have any influence of anything. We didn't care about having hit songs. We didn't care about being on the charts. What we wanted to be was a great musical group playing the best for each other and enrolling, if you like, the best musicians around us. So, as you said, the first guy we needed, in fact, in the band, this is the brothers, was Kerry Minnear, and he was a life changer for the Shulman brothers because he just graduated from the Royal Academy of Music in composition and as well as a percussion, and had some is a superb musician and a composer. So we were very lucky in being able to snag him, if you like, when he was most vulnerable because he wasn't making much money, and we were lucky in the fact that we had a kind of a manager who invested in our growth as Gentle Giant, and we were able to put the band together without doing any shows for about 9 months. A guy called Jerry Braun, and as a manager, who believed in us as musicians to put this band together that he had no idea what it was going to be, and I don't think we did, but he knew that we knew what we wanted was a band of musicians to make great music, however it turned out.
Yeah, and it turned out to be, excellent, right? You end up going from 1970 to 1980. You were the front man there, and you guys end up recording 12 albums with the band over the year, which is very impressive. Some band would be happy with one album and touring here or there, but you guys tour all over, and the number of albums and the number of hits, and it was unbelievable. So you guys have a great run doing the stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we did. We had a very good work ethic. I mean, we were never a band that would just well, number one, when we recorded, we rehearsed a great deal. I mean, we had a very good work ethic. I mean, when we toured, we made sure that the tour and the rehearsals before the tours were really put together well before the backstaging and the road management and ourselves being well rehearsed before we went out on tour. In the same respect as making albums, we made sure that we were pretty much, there's always room for development in the studio, but we had pretty much most of the music, at least mostly written before we went into the studio. So we were never a band that jammed, if you like, in the studio. We had things written and kind of knew where we were going when we went in the studio. And so we were a band that we were pretty dedicated to our music and our audiences.
Got you. Perfect. Looking back, you guys were rehearsing. Let's say you were going a tour in a month from now. You rehearse for like a couple of weeks before you go on the road again. And
oh no, we'd rehearse a great deal, and we would make sure that if we were putting on a 2-hour show, that it wasn't just us playing music with our staring at our shoes. What we wanted to do was obviously play the music that we had recorded, but in a different fashion. I think I've said this before, but the music that was recorded was kind of a sketch for the painting which evolved onto the stage. So we took let's say the missing freehand, the album, and we were promoting that album, and we take a couple of songs and stretch them out into different kinds of ways that wasn't on the album. So we rehearsed quite a long time before, but at the same time, as well as the music being semi-different to what the album was, we made sure that we were entertaining the audience. So whether we could put it together some kind of visuals, some kind of crazy things that people wouldn't expect. We wanted to surprise people both with our music and the visuals of what we did personally and professionally.
Yeah, that's great, because you guys have so many great albums, like The Interview, Freehand, The Power, The Glory, and so forth. So eventually, in 10 years, you were recording, in some cases, 1 or 2 albums a year and touring. That's very impressive,
Well, we were hard workers. I have to say, we were never again a band that this is going to sound trite. I hope it doesn't. But we weren't a band to sit around and smoke dope or do drugs and just say, oh, well, let's get together next year and this, that, and the other. We were pretty hard workers. So we did about 11, 12 albums in our 10-year history and toured a great deal. I mean, at least 6 months a year on the road, and probably more sometimes. So it was, but we loved doing it. We loved performing and playing, first of all, for ourselves to get better, for our own enjoyment, seeing what we could do interpersonally, and then going on stage, and hopefully that musicality would come over. But at the same time, what we wanted to do also is have fun on stage, and make sure that we had fun playing our music, and hopefully the audience realized that we were having fun as well. It wasn't we didn't take ourselves seriously. We take our music seriously, but we didn't take ourselves seriously on stage. So we enjoyed playing and performing and entertaining.
Absolutely, it's great when you're playing great music and you're doing what you love and you're getting paid, and at the same time, it's everything's going well. Is it difficult since I'm not a musician? Is it difficult to be on the road for 3 or 6 months, missing the children, the wife, and so forth? That was before the internet, so you didn't have a cell phone or Zoom like this to call your wife or relative, and you were on the road and calling the landlines. You were paying $10 a minute or something. You're
exactly correct, and yes, it was difficult. I mean, I can't deny that some of the time, especially playing North America, Europe was a little different because it was, in our back door. We were living in England. But playing North America, our first tour was over 3 months of going away, three and a half to 4 months. And you became a little lonely. You wanted to speak to your girlfriend or your wife or someone you wanted to speak to, and you were in a hotel room, and you had a couple of days off sometimes, and a couple of days off in the Midwest of America. Was like almost like 2 years in prison.
Right.
But we were able to get through it because I guess we knew when to back off. We were truly a band, and we were truly friends. And in so saying, we know each other when to back off or when to say, "Hey, let's go out for a drink" or whatever. So yeah, we were. Yeah, it was tough, but we were able to get through it and not get into all sorts of stupid things that a lot of other bands got into, like breaking hotel room ups and get drunk and not show up for gigs because you're stoned or God knows what else.
That's crazy what bands do, man. Some people are, I don't know, in all profession, not just music, are very responsible. They don't take the stuff seriously, and the little money that they make, some band they throw it away. They do a lot of stupid stuff. Then, and they,
I think we were all very responsible people. If we had a drink after the gig or whatever it was or some other thing, but really we were very. I shouldn't say the word professional, but we were. We wanted to make sure that what we gave the audience, which is the most important thing, and ourselves, the best possible incarnation of what we did musically.
Perfect, right. And then toward the end of 1980, you guys decided, well, why was, you were doing well, you were releasing a lot of albums, touring over the world 6 months a year, and then what happened that you guys decided, well, maybe a combination of things, but you decided, well, we come to a stop. This is our last album, the last show, and so the world. It was any pressure for the record label for more commercial success, or?
Yeah, I think yes, what there was, but it was probably pressure internally as well because, especially in North America. North America was a big market for Gentle Giant, as well as Germany, Italy, but that was a whole different thing. But certainly, if you made it in North America, in the earlier period of time, the radio, which is a big marketing tool back in those days, would play album size. They play songs. It was a free form kind of thing. Then radio became very hit record oriented. So bands, that had hits. A hit song in album radio would get more airplay and having more airplay, they'd get more recognition. And I guess we Gentle Giant as a band saw that bands like Genesis were able to come up with a hit song and make their audience go from say 5,000 people to 20,000 people, whatever. The same thing happened to bands like Yes, etc. They had Oh Never Lonely Heart, etc. All these kind of things. And I guess in some respects, we thought, well, let's try it ourselves. And you know what? We weren't able to. We were horrible at trying to make our music more commercial. So in some ways, it was a shame. But in a lot of other ways, I'm glad that we weren't able to, because I think the legacy we left was one that was more true to what we were, as opposed to going back to being a pop band, which I'd already been in the 60s. So that was, and also the creative air juices were starting to run dry to a certain degree. There's a lifespan, and to overstay that lifespan, what we didn't want to become was a parody of ourselves. And sometimes when you get older and you're going to play the same music you did, say 10 years ago, the same track, then it becomes a semi-parody. We didn't want to we didn't want to become that, and we did, and that's what we said. Let's stop it now while we still can and while we're still popular.
Yeah, and you guys have, if I were to look at a Bandcamp or a Spotify or YouTube channel, you have a lot of hits. So you guys did very well, and still, 1980 to now 2023. That would be 43 years. Still very popular. Still people buy the record, buy the CDs, or listen to YouTube or on Spotify or whatever, and it's still very popular. So you guys did a great job, man.
Well, listen, I'm amazed myself that after this period of time, there's even more interest probably now than there was back in the day. So it's and that's a very good feeling that we left. I guess some kind of legacy, some kind of and I would never in a million years when we played together thought that in 40 plus years we'd be talking about what we did, back then.
Right. Yeah, I mean, popular bands like still the stuff that I like from the Genesis, the Pink Floyd, the Led Zeppelin, Camel, Gone, Gentle Giant, King Crimson, and so many. They're like 50 years old and still, kicking, doing well, and some touring, some not, and some band broke up, but still there's independent of the genre, right? Good music is good music, no matter how you define it, right? 40 years ago or 2 weeks ago, it's good stuff. People are, and as you know, now you're living here in the United States, there's so many venues, so it's United States is a big market for upcoming band and for older band that want to tour and keep on touring and do well for themselves. Go ahead. I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No. That's easy. Obviously a lot of bands that are continuing to tour who were back there, but that's not something that I think we wanted to do. As I said to you, I don't think we would have enjoyed. Certainly, I couldn't do it anyway because we're all a lot older and wearing what we wore and trying to physically do what we could do on stage would be very tough, in our older age. But the good music is good music. One thing that is interesting to me is that a younger generation is discovering the music via the social media world and the internet and relearning and learning afresh from not just Gentle Giant, from other bands that were popular in the day, and that's heartening to me. That's even though they may not be the new Taylor Swift or the Jay-Z's or whatever they are, there's a new generation that are listening to the music that we did and enjoying it, and that's heartening for all of us.
Yeah, and absolutely, and I see all the shows that I go and see here in DC, and usually I see like three generations. People in the early 60s, they are bringing the kid, they're early 40s, which in turn bring the little guys, 15, 16, 18. And they say, well, this is what I used to listen to, hear the band, and let's go check it out. Still, you see two or three generations easily in progressive rock, if you will, So it's not just the older guys like you and I that go and see shows, So.
Well, that's good to hear. It's good to see and good to hear.
Yeah, definitely. And in 1976, you end up. It was the 8th release of the concept album, conceived as a radio interview, right? So, what was the motivation? I have several questions about that. What was the motivation of putting that together, which was unusual at the time, right? So,
you're talking about interview, of course, right?
Yeah, the interview.
Yeah. I think I think that the motivation. Well, I know what the motivation was. That it was a little. Well, we'd been touring a great deal with the album before. I think it was a freehand album, and which was very successful. And we'd go by radio stations that honestly they would be playing Black Sabbath or REO Speedwagon or Journey or whatever, and they'd have to kind of sit and do an interview with Gentle Giant, even though they didn't even know who we were, because we were in town and we were headlining some show there. And honestly, they didn't really know. And so the questions were coming at us like, who are you? I mean, what is your style? The questions were always the same. And we come back and say, ask us questions about how do you get that ninth note into the some musical questions, but they were always the same questions. So we came back from the tour, and there was a little bit of I guess not cynical. We were a little tired actually. So I think lyrically it was somewhat how can I put this? Not cynical, but okay, look, who we are. We've showed who we are. Don't ask us questions anymore. This is who we are, and just listen to the music. So that's kind of what the concept is. And we got a friend of ours from the Sounds magazine in England to ask these kind of dumb questions. And we'd all answer over the top, oh, well, blah, 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 and that's the essence of what interview was about.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. As if they were, in a way, pre-stage, if you will, in a studio. And that's pretty much, it's a good answer. It's a good motivation to do it. You guys were very busy touring, especially when you were coming out of the Freehand album and Freehand tour, which you were all over the world. So.
Yeah, we were. Well, I think, with interview, I think it turned out very, very well. I think actually that if we had a little more, just a couple of more weeks, it would have been probably our best. But I think there's certainly some great songs, music, pieces of music on the album. And of course, Stephen Wilson has just remixed the album. And it sounds, Stephen's done an incredible job on other albums that we've done, and he's done the same thing with interviews. So it sounds fantastic in the 5.1 and the Atmos mix and everything else. So hope everyone out there is able to listen to it, because I think it's it makes the album sound as good, if not better, than it was. And Stephen understands the band extremely well, and knows that just to he doesn't embellish. He clarifies each instrument much better, so there's breathing space in the mixes, and that's his incredible mark of a superb remixer, and he's a good friend too.
Yeah, especially because. The album was obviously was the usual stereo album, and then was mixed in 4-channel, and having a quadraphonic album in 76 still was a challenge, we didn't have the technology that we have nowadays, we always
tried some different things. I mean, we tried the quadraphonic mix and not many people could play it, but nevertheless we tried. It was. I think it's a very up there with the top 3-4 albums of ours, and I think that it's a very very strong album. Again, I'm just thinking back. Had we had maybe a couple more weeks of breathing time to write a little more, I think it could have been the best, but I mean, it's certainly up there with, I guess some of our most lauded albums, if you like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But let's talk a little bit about Stephen Wilson. How Stephen Wilson will know what he can make it work better? You guys take a look at the catalog and then approach him, or the other way around? Who's driving what?